When you get that big break in life, new job, better pay, doors opening, it's supposed to be the moment you breathe a little easier. At least, that's what I thought when I landed a position at a top firm with a salary that had a few extra zeros. We could finally make some dreams come true. Pay off debt, save for the kids' college, maybe even take a long overdue family vacation. Simple dreams. Grounded ones. But life? Well, it had other ideas. My wife, Bella, she was thrilled. At first. We celebrated with dinner at her favorite restaurant, and I swear I hadn't seen her smile that big in years. She started talking about how we could finally redo the house. Just a little remodeling. I thought, sure, why not? She's earned it. But what started as just a little remodeling quickly spiraled. Suddenly, we weren't just repainting the living room. Nope. We were talking about ripping out kitchen counters, importing some Italian marble, and swapping out perfectly good furniture like it was a clearance sale. On top of that, boxes from high-end boutiques started appearing at the door almost daily. Designer shoes, handbags, stuff I couldn't even pronounce. Every time I saw one of those fancy shopping bags, I could practically hear my bank account groaning in agony. At first I tried to reason with myself. Bella had been a wonderful wife and mother. She deserved to treat herself a bit. But then came the parties. Oh yeah, Bella had rediscovered her girls' night routine. One night out turned into 2, then 3, and soon enough, I barely saw her around the house in the evenings. Meanwhile, I was juggling a mountain of responsibilities at work, trying to prove myself in this new role. But the real kicker? The kids. Our 2 little ones, Ava and Sam, suddenly became an afterthought in her world. She was constantly calling the nanny or dropping them off with her parents. One night, I came home to find Ava crying because she hadn't seen her mom all day. My heart just sank. I sat with her on the couch, stroking her hair, trying to explain something I didn't fully understand myself. Bella came home hours later, all smiles, slightly buzzed from whatever wine-tasting event she'd been at. I remember standing in the kitchen, waiting for her to notice the tension in the air. When she finally did, she just brushed it off, like I was overreacting. "Come on, Roger," she said with a dismissive wave. "I need this. I've been stuck at home for years. I deserve a little fun." I swallowed my frustration and calmly replied, "Bella, I get that. But can we talk about balance? The kids miss you. I miss you. And these expenses, we've got to slow down." Her eyes narrowed like I'd just suggested she give up coffee forever. "Oh, so now you're gonna police what I spend. I've sacrificed everything for this family. The least I deserve is some damn freedom." I didn't push further that night. I wasn't in the mood for a shouting match, but deep down I knew we were heading into dangerous waters, and I wasn't sure how to pull us back. The tension kept building, like water rising behind a dam, and I was running out of ways to hold it all together. Bella didn't seem to notice, or maybe she just didn't care. Every time I brought up the money or her absence from home, the conversation ended the same way, her telling me how much she'd sacrificed for this family, as if I hadn't been working my ass off for years to keep everything afloat. One night, I came home after a brutal 12-hour day at the office. I was dead on my feet, dreaming of a hot shower and collapsing into bed. But instead of peace and quiet, I walked into a house that looked like a tornado had ripped through it. Dishes were piled high in the sink, toys were scattered everywhere, and the kids were glued to the TV with glazed-over eyes. No sign of Bella. "Where's your mom?" I asked Ava. "She left with Aunt Grace," she mumbled without looking up from the screen. "Aunt Grace?" It took me a second to realize Ava meant Grace, Bella's new best friend. Grace was recently divorced, apparently living her best life with spa days, beach vacations, and God knows what else. Now she had Bella tagging along, soaking up her life of freedom philosophy. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Did she say when she'd be back? Ava just shrugged. I cleaned up the mess, made dinner for the kids, and got them into bed. I tried to stay calm, but by the time Bella finally walked through the door, around 11 p.m., I was done. "Hey!" she chirped, like everything was perfectly normal. She kicked off her heels and set her oversized purse on the counter. Sorry I'm late. Grace and I got caught up. Bella, I cut her off, my voice tight. We need to talk. Her smile faded. Now? I'm exhausted, Roger. Oh, you're exhausted? I said, my voice rising despite myself. I've been working all day, came home to a disaster zone, took care of the kids, and now I'm supposed to just wait up like some kind of babysitter while you're out living it up? She crossed her arms, defensive. You're being dramatic. It's one night. It's not one night, Bella. This has been happening for weeks. I'm busting my ass to provide for this family, and you're out spending like we hit the lottery and partying with Grace every chance you get. Do you even see what's happening here? Her eyes flashed with anger. Oh, here we go. The poor, hard-working husband speech. You think you're the only one with responsibilities? I'm the one who's been stuck in this house for years. Do you know how lonely that gets? You work late, you're stressed all the time, and now you want to guilt-trip me for having a life? I was stunned for a moment. How had we gotten so far apart that we couldn't even see each other's struggles anymore? I'm not trying to guilt-trip you, I said, more quietly this time. I'm trying to save this marriage. But if we keep going down this road, I don't know how much longer I can do it. Her face softened for a split second, and for a moment, I thought we might actually have a breakthrough. But then she shook her head and muttered, You're being ridiculous, before turning and walking upstairs. I stood there in the kitchen staring after her, the weight of her dismissal settling over me like a heavy blanket. It was like watching sand slip through my fingers. The more I tried to hold on, the more everything fell apart. And deep down, I knew. If things didn't change soon, there was no saving us. The next few weeks felt like we were stuck in a cold war, passive-aggressive silence, forced small talk, and both of us walking on eggshells. I kept my focus on work, trying to push through the stress, but every time I walked through the front door, that knot in my stomach tightened. Bella was always either out or distracted. The connection we used to have was crumbling fast. Then came the breaking point. I got home early one Friday night, hoping to surprise the kids and maybe spend a quiet evening with Bella. But when I opened the door, I was greeted by the nanny instead. "Where's Bella?" I asked, dropping my keys on the counter. "Oh," she replied, sounding hesitant. "She left this afternoon. She said she was going on a short trip with her friend Grace." "A trip?" My voice sharpened. "She didn't mention anything to me about a trip." The nanny winced. "She asked me to stay through the weekend to watch the kids. I thought you knew." Of course I didn't know. Why would she bother to tell me? My blood started to boil, but I forced a smile and thanked the nanny. After she left, I found a note from Bella on the kitchen counter. "Roger, I'll be at the coast with Grace for a few days. Don't worry. I arranged everything for the kids. Needed a little break. You understand." I crumpled the note in my fist. A little break? Seriously? She didn't even have the decency to talk to me about it beforehand. I called her immediately. She didn't answer at first, but after 3 attempts, she finally picked up. "Hey," she said, her tone way too casual for someone who just ditched her family without notice. "Bella, what the hell is this?" I snapped. "You go off on some spontaneous beach trip and leave me to find out from the nanny?" She sighed, clearly annoyed. "Roger, I didn't think it was a big deal. The kids are taken care of, you've got your work, and I just needed a few days to clear my head." "Clear your head?" "Bella, this isn't about needing space. It's about respect. You can't just leave like that without telling me." "Oh, please," she shot back. "If I had told you, you would have just guilt-tripped me or tried to talk me out of it. I'm tired of feeling trapped, Roger. You don't understand what it's like." "Trapped?" I could barely contain my frustration. "Bella, you're out here living like you're a reality TV star while I'm busting my ass to hold everything together. The least you could do is communicate." There was a long pause on the line. In the background, I heard music and voices, male voices, and my jaw clenched. "Is that a party?" I asked, my tone icy. "No," she said quickly, but the hesitation in her voice gave her away. "We're just at a little beach house gathering. Nothing crazy." I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Jealousy and rage tangled in my gut. I pictured her and Grace surrounded by younger guys, laughing and drinking. Maybe it was irrational, but after everything, I couldn't shake the image. "This is the last straw, Bella," I finally said, my voice steady but cold. "You've crossed every line. You want freedom so badly? Fine, you can have it. But don't expect me to stick around and keep cleaning up the mess." "What's that supposed to mean?" she demanded, her voice rising. "It means I'm done," I said, and then I hung up. That night I blocked her credit cards and called my lawyer. If Bella didn't want to listen, if she couldn't respect me or our family, then I was done trying to hold everything together. It was time to act. Before you find out what happens next, please subscribe to the channel. The fallout was swift. The next morning, Bella called me, but I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. By the time I checked my phone, I had over 10 missed calls and a series of increasingly panicked messages. "Roger, what's going on? Why aren't you answering? Did you block my cards? Are you serious right now? This isn't funny, Roger. Call me back." By the afternoon, her tone had shifted. She left a voicemail laced with anger and indignation. "You're really going to do this to me? Embarrass me like this? I'm at a restaurant with Grace and my card was declined. Declined. Everyone saw. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? You've lost your mind." Humiliating? That was rich coming from the woman who left her kids without notice and was off gallivanting at the beach. I wasn't in the mood to play games, so I kept ignoring her. It wasn't until that evening that I finally answered her call. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the line like a knife. "What the hell is your problem, Roger?" "My problem?" I repeated, my voice calm but firm. "My problem is that you don't seem to care about anyone but yourself lately. You left without telling me, you're blowing through money like it grows on trees, and now you're mad because I won't fund your little vacation?" "This isn't just a vacation," she snapped. "I needed to get away, Roger. You don't get it. You've been so focused on work that you've completely checked out from our marriage. I'm lonely. I needed this." "And I needed you to be honest with me," I countered. "But instead, you sneak off with Grace and leave me to clean up the mess, like always. This isn't a partnership anymore, Bella. I'm done being the only one trying." She was silent for a moment. I could hear the ocean in the background, waves crashing softly, and it made me ache for the simpler times we used to share. "I can't believe you're making this about money," she finally said, her voice wavering between anger and hurt. "After everything I've done for this family, raising the kids, keeping the house in order, you're acting like I'm some selfish gold digger." "This isn't about money, Bella. It's about respect," I said firmly. "You're not the same person I married, and maybe I'm not the same person either, but I can't do this anymore. I've already talked to a lawyer. We need to face reality. This isn't working." The line went dead quiet. Then she let out a bitter laugh. "Wow. So that's it? You're just giving up?" "No, Bella," I said softly. "You gave up a long time ago. I'm just finally catching up." I hung up before she could say anything else. When Bella came home a few days later, she tried to play the victim, spinning the situation as if I'd gone off the deep end. She accused me of being controlling, of sabotaging her, of not appreciating all the hard work she'd done over the years. I stayed calm, letting her rant, until she made the fatal mistake of trying to gaslight me. "You know what your problem is?" she said, pointing a finger at me. "You can't handle the fact that I have my own life. You're jealous." "Jealous?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Jealous of what, Bella? Of you partying with guys at the beach while our kids barely see you? Jealous of Grace, the free spirit who's riding the coattails of her divorce settlement?" Her face twisted in anger. "Don't you dare bring Grace into this." "Oh, I'll bring her into it, all right," I said, my voice low and cold. "Because she's been a bad influence on you from the start. But you're right about one thing. Your life is your business now, and I won't stand in your way anymore. I'll just be the ex-husband from here on out." With that, I handed her the divorce papers. Bella's eyes widened, and for the first time I saw real fear on her face. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She knew I wasn't bluffing. It was over. Or so I thought. The following days were tense, like the calm before a storm. Bella's initial reaction was shock, but once reality sank in, the anger followed. She began lashing out, both directly and through passive-aggressive tactics. Every interaction became a battleground. "You really think the kids are going to be better off with their parents divorced?" she hissed one evening. "I think the kids deserve a peaceful home, Bella," I replied evenly. "Not one where their parents are constantly at each other's throats." He scoffed. "Oh, so now you're the sainted protector of peace? Please, Roger, you're just throwing a tantrum because I dared to live my own life for once." I didn't take the bait. I was tired of the endless back and forth. It was draining, and the kids were starting to pick up on it. Ava asked me one night, "Are you and Mom going to stop fighting soon?" That question hit me like a ton of bricks. I hugged her tightly, whispering, "I'm working on it, sweetheart. I promise." Meanwhile, Bella's family got involved. Her mother called me, trying to reason with me. "Roger, honey, I know Bella's been acting out, but divorce? Isn't that a little extreme?" "Mrs. Harper," I said gently but firmly, I've tried everything, but she's not the same person anymore. I can't keep sacrificing my sanity for someone who won't meet me halfway." My own parents weighed in too. My mother was supportive but concerned. "Just don't let this turn into a war, Roger. The kids need both of you. Keep things civil." That was easier said than done. Bella wasn't ready to keep things civil, at least not yet. When I blocked her access to the joint accounts, she threw another fit. She called me, furious. "You're cutting me off financially? What am I supposed to do, Roger?" "Get a job," I replied bluntly. "Like millions of other people. You're smart, Bella. You can handle it." She was quiet for a moment, as if the idea had never seriously crossed her mind. "You're really doing this? You're really just done?" "Yeah," I said softly. "I am." A few days later, we had our first real conversation without all the screaming and accusations. Bella sat across from me in the living room, her posture tense, but her eyes less defiant than before. "I talked to my parents," she admitted. "They think I've lost sight of things." I nodded slowly. "You have, but it's not too late to turn things around. For you. For the kids." Her gaze softened. For the first time in what felt like forever, she looked vulnerable. "I never meant for things to get this bad, Roger. I felt trapped, lonely. And Grace, she made it look so easy, like I could just escape." "I get that," I said, "but you can't escape your responsibilities. None of us can. I've been working myself to the bone to provide for this family, and all I wanted was for you to meet me halfway, to be there for the kids, for us." She wiped at her eyes and sighed. "I want to fix this. I don't want to lose everything." "Then show me," I said gently. "Words are one thing, Bella. Actions are another." Bella promised to take steps to regain control of her life, starting with finding a job and cutting off her toxic friendships. I wasn't holding my breath for an overnight transformation. Maybe this wouldn't have to end in total destruction. But that hope came with a hefty dose of skepticism. I'd been burned before, and trust wasn't something I could just snap back into place. We still had a long road ahead. Before the divorce was finalized, both our families decided to intervene. They couldn't just stand by and watch us tear everything apart. So one weekend, we had a meeting at Bella's parents' house. It was awkward as hell at first. Everyone sitting around the large dining table, avoiding eye contact. You could cut the tension with a knife. Bella's dad was the first to speak. "Look, we know things have been rough between you two, but there's still a family here, and I think it's worth trying to salvage some of that." My dad nodded in agreement. "You've got two beautiful kids who deserve to see their parents working together. Even if the marriage doesn't survive, you can still handle this with dignity." Bella sighed and crossed her arms, clearly defensive. "Roger's already decided, hasn't he? He's got the papers ready." I leaned forward, keeping my voice calm. "Bella, this isn't about me deciding. It's about both of us taking accountability. We've hurt each other. We've both made mistakes. But maybe we can find a way to move forward without dragging the kids through a war." Her mom chimed in gently. "You've been through a lot, sweetie. But maybe it's time to think about what's best for everyone. Compromise doesn't mean losing." After a lot of back and forth, we reached a reasonable agreement. We would go through with the divorce, but it wouldn't be the dramatic battlefield I had feared. We'd keep things peaceful, for the kids' sake. I agreed to leave the house to Bella. The kids would continue living there, and I'd support them financially and stay involved as a co-parent. In return, Bella promised to take concrete steps to turn her life around. She'd find a job, take on more responsibility at home, and show that she could be a stable and present mother. The whole family was on board with this plan, ready to support us both. Bella gave me a long look across the table. I know I have a lot to prove. I'm not expecting you to trust me right away, but I'll do it. For the kids. For myself. I hope you do, I replied sincerely. For all our sakes. By the time the meeting ended, there was a strange sense of relief in the air. It wasn't a happy occasion, but it wasn't a total disaster either. We had a plan, one that gave us both a chance to rebuild in our own ways. The divorce itself was straightforward after that. No theatrics, no courtroom drama. We signed the papers quietly, and just like that, our marriage was over. It felt surreal, but also necessary. This wasn't the end of the road. It was a new beginning for both of us. The next 6 months after the divorce were different. I wasn't sure what to expect, but one thing became clear. Bella was serious about turning her life around. She cut ties with the toxic friends, including Grace, who wasn't exactly thrilled about it. One evening, when I was dropping off Ava and Sam, I overheard Bella on the phone saying something like, "I can't keep doing this, Grace. I have to focus on my family." When she hung up, she looked exhausted but calmer. There was no more constant chaos, no more late-night outings or drama. It was like she finally realized what mattered. Bella also threw herself into her new job. It wasn't easy for her. Event planning is stressful, and she hadn't worked in years, but she stuck with it. Every time I saw her, she seemed more grounded. She was balancing her job and motherhood with a grace I hadn't seen in a long time. I could tell it wasn't all smooth sailing. I'd catch glimpses of her stress when I came by, little things like a weary sigh or the way she rubbed her temples after a long day. But she was handling it, and in handling it, she was starting to understand a lot of the pressures I had faced when I was supporting the family alone. One evening, after I dropped off the kids, Bella and I ended up talking in the driveway. The conversation started with small talk, how work was going, updates on the kids, but then she said something that caught me off guard. "I used to think you were just obsessed with your job," she said quietly. "But now, I get it. The pressure to keep everything running, to be the one everyone depends on, it's a lot." I looked at her surprised. "Yeah, it is, but you're handling it well. I can see that." She smiled, a little tired but sincere. "Thanks. It's tough, but it's worth it. For the kids. And for myself, I guess. I needed this push to grow up a bit." We stood there for a moment, just taking it all in. It wasn't awkward or forced like before. It was nice, familiar. The walls between us were slowly coming down, brick by brick. Still, there was this unspoken tension. We both seemed to be tiptoeing around something. Fear, maybe. Fear of getting too close again. Neither of us wanted to rush things or risk another implosion. Despite that, things kept improving. I made a point to be there for the kids as much as possible, taking them to the park, helping with homework, or just hanging out on weekends. Bella and I coordinated schedules easily, without any drama. The kids noticed the change too. Ava and Sam were happier, laughing more, and just being kids again. The tension that had hung over the house for months was gone. One afternoon, Ava came up to me and asked, "Are you and Mom friends again?" I smiled and ruffled her hair. "Yeah, something like that." It wasn't just for the kids, though. Bella and I were genuinely getting along. We weren't rushing back into anything, but there was trust slowly rebuilding between us. The warmth was coming back, one conversation, one moment at a time. We were both giving each other and ourselves the space to heal and grow. The decision to move back in together wasn't sudden. It happened naturally, piece by piece. One night, Bella and I were talking after dinner at her place. The kids were asleep, and the house was finally quiet. "You ever think about what it would be like if we tried again?" she asked softly, tracing her finger around the rim of her coffee mug. I didn't answer right away. I'd thought about it plenty of times, but I wasn't sure how to say it out loud. Eventually, I sighed and met her eyes. "Yeah, I think about it. But I don't want us to jump into anything. We've been through too much to screw it up again." "Exactly," she agreed. "I don't want to rush either, but maybe we could take things slow, see where it goes." And that's what we did. I moved back into the house, but not in a "let's get remarried tomorrow" kind of way. It was more like building a new foundation, brick by brick. The kids were ecstatic, of course. For them, it was like their world was finally being put back together. One weekend we decided to go on a family picnic. Nothing extravagant, just sandwiches, fruit, and a couple of blankets spread out under the shade of a big oak tree. The kids played nearby, their laughter echoing through the open field. Bella and I sat back, watching them with easy smiles. "This is nice," I said, taking a sip of lemonade. "Simple, peaceful." "Yeah," she agreed, leaning back on her elbows. "We needed this, all of us." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, just soaking in the moment. Then Bella spoke again, her tone thoughtful. "You know, for the longest time, I thought marriage was all about the paperwork, the vows, the rings, the traditions, but none of that means anything if you're not showing up for each other every day." "Exactly," I nodded. "Actions matter more than words. It's easy to stand in front of a crowd and say you'll love someone forever. Harder to actually do it when life gets messy." She smiled at me, her eyes soft. "I don't think we need the documents or vows this time. What matters is that we're here, doing the work, proving it every day." "Yeah," I chuckled, shaking my head. "Who needs another ceremony anyway? We're already knee-deep in commitments." Bella laughed. "True. Though if we ever decide to get married again, I want a smaller, less stressful wedding this time." "Deal," I grinned. "But until then, I'm fine with us just living life, being there for each other and the kids." She reached for my hand and squeezed it gently. "I love you, Roger, and I'm grateful. I know my mistakes hurt us, but they also forced me to grow up. I don't think I'd be the person I am now if it weren't for everything we went through." "I know," I said, squeezing her hand back. "I love you too, and I don't regret giving us this second chance. We're not perfect, but we're better, stronger." The kids ran over at that moment, interrupting our quiet moment. "Mom? Dad? Can we play hide and seek?" Ava asked excitedly. Bella and I exchanged a glance and laughed. "Sure, why not?" I said, standing up and stretching. "But you better watch out. I'm the world champion at hide and seek." "Oh yeah?" Bella teased, raising an eyebrow. "You're going down, champ." As we chased after the kids, I realized how far we'd come. This wasn't the same broken family that had been on the brink of collapse. We'd rebuilt, redefined what our relationship meant, and made peace with our past. Our family supported us, the kids were thriving, and for the first time in years, I felt whole. Maybe we didn't have legal vows anymore, but we had something better, actions that proved our love and commitment every single day. And in the end, that was more than enough. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a great mood and good luck.